District.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of VCCLive. I am Kevin Skipper with Vaping Convention Circuit. These are my co-hosts, Jay DeLuco,
Hey.
Grim Green, Suck My Mod,
Hi.
Nick Green, and Matt Coley. So yeah, new day, new time, lots of energy we're bringing to the show because it's 8 o'clock at night and we can drink, even though I'm drinking Mio water. And go Gators, by the way. You're going to get your ass stomped by Alabama, but whatever. So yeah, I'm kind of curious how this is going to work out on a Thursday night at 8. I mean, I'm always, when I first had the vision of doing VC Live, it was like, I couldn't do evenings or nights, and I wanted to do something maybe Friday at lunchtime on the East Coast, morning time on the West Coast, where people could chill and, watch at their desk, maybe at work, or if they're on, lunch, watch it on their phone or something on YouTube Live. And, well, Jay went and ruined it all this week by getting a job. Thanks, Jay.
Yeah, I forced your hand.
Yeah, so we decided we were going to keep the lineup the way it was because I think we have a great lineup here, and we are moving to Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, you might not think it's such a great lineup once you see me drinking on a show.
Well, it's only
that's true.
It's only an hour. How many can you get down in an hour? Wait, never mind.
That's true. That's true. And it is Thursday. I do still have one more day of day job to get through. So.
Very true.
I think that after everybody finds out about the time change and stuff, I think the viewership the live viewership at least will probably go up a bit.
Yeah. If you guys haven't shared the link, by the way, yet, please share it real quick. The live link. We're live now, and maybe some people on your social media will want to check it out.
I'll go put it on my social medias.
Yeah. We're going to get some people tomorrow for sure saying, "Where's VCC Live? Why isn't it on? Why aren't you guys on today?" And we're going to have to tell them to watch the replay. So, Jay, what's up, man? How's things? How's your first week of back to work going after a while?
First week of back to a data analysis job. Actually, it's going very well. At least that job is going very well. But having two full-time jobs is not so awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm making do. Obviously, I'm not able to pay as much attention as I'd like to on the advocacy and community front in the vaping space, but I'm sure it'll all settle down after a few weeks. I'll get into a groove.
So, what is it exactly that you're doing? You said data entry. I'm just kidding.
Data entry. Yes, I quit owning a company so I could do data entry. No, data analysis, business intelligence. That's what I was doing for 10 years or so before I quit and went full time with the vaping gig, and now I'm going back because I kind of miss it.
Mm-hmm.
Strangely enough, but also I need to make sure that I can feed my family.
I think we're going to see some changes in the vaping industry coming up soon. We'll talk about that later on, and hopefully you can get back to your regularly scheduled programming and get the FDA out of our life.
Yeah, we don't want you to have to do porn anymore, Jay.
Yeah.
You're the one who asked me so nicely
porn.
to get back to it.
Well, I'm a fan, but I could tell you're not in it.
I'm not in it.
He has quite an extensive backlog, though, Matt. Have you
Only
checked it all out?
quarters erect.
I saw those tears.
So, Matt, what's up with you, man? How are things this week?
Things are pretty good. Got to go off to a gymnastics meet here tomorrow. Dad life. That's why I can't go to ECC.
Speaking of fun.
What? I bought a new gun this week. I've been getting more into guns lately, even though it's just I like gadgets and stuff.
I know you were raised a liberal, and you're now currently your political opinions are more libertarian, but I think you're becoming more and more Republican as days go by.
I was raised there's plenty of Democrats that own guns, especially in Montana. But I was raised a Jehovah's Witness. I was raised nothing. And then
That even
once
carries
I
over to
got out-
politics?
once I got out of that, that's when I became a little more liberal and stuff. And I still believe in a lot of those ideas, but I've always been more, I don't know, the gun thing's fucking a 5-hour show.
So what'd you get? Speaking of 5-hour shows.
I got a Springfield XDS.
Nice.
Ah, nine.
I got 9, and I have an old like 4506 S&W, like the old cop guns from like the 90s.
Yep.
Those are made in
I
Massachusetts,
have
right?
many. I have many Smiths. Many Smiths.
Made in Massachusetts, right?
Yep. Springfield.
Very
I
cool.
do kind of want a Glock now as well.
I have a Glock 22, 40
Can't get
caliber.
those.
Another fucking expensive hobby, man.
Especially the ammo.
Yeah.
Nick, what are you up to? It doesn't look like your house. What's happening there?
No, I'm on the road, world tour type of thing going on. We came up to ECC up in near Arcadia, California, to attend ECC. We rented a big Airbnb house. We got Ruby Roo and Josh and Danielle downstairs. Kent, Twisted Messes is coming out. James and Ilea from Steve's Cake are coming out. Andy from Ohm's Distro in the UK is coming out, and so that's it. We're just hanging out and pre-gaming before ECC. Should be really good times. I'm interested to see how ECC goes, like how the turnout is going to be. It's an outdoor event, and it looks, from what I've seen, it looks really cool. I'm just interested to see how that goes, how it's going to be being at a vape event and not being in like a vape-filled building all day long, like actually being outside in the fresh air. I think it's going to be like a really good change of place, change of pace. And I didn't buy a gun, although me and Josh did just buy Nerf guns at Target. So good times there.
That's something. And you can do that in California.
Yeah.
Not much else.
They
but-
probably tax you and make you get a permit.
They'll only let you hold 3 Nerf balls at a time, though. In the California guns.
Yeah, it's a limited magazine of Nerf balls, but yeah, it's been good times.
Now let me ask you: is it an assault Nerf gun?
It's like, so they make like the Nerf guns, and then they make like the adult Nerf guns. I can't remember what they're called, but they look cooler and they're sleeker, and they don't shoot like those little like Nerf arrows. They shoot like little hard like
pellets,
yellow golf balls, and they shoot at like 100 feet per second. So when you get hit, you notice it, like you feel it. It's not
You get
painful.
hurt like an adult. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's really cool. So
think that
far,
calls
we
for a
haven't really
beer.
been shooting each other. We've been setting up like, Lane Cove juice bottles and shooting them over from across the room. And it's been great. It's been awesome.
Once you guys have a few drinks, I'm sure it'll turn into a war.
Exactly.
Those ones are fun, the adult ones, because it stings just a little, enough to where you don't want to get hit, which makes it more fun
Right.
when you're
Yeah, it
battling
makes
each
it
other.
more fun when you're running away. And people just flinch. Like, you just point the gun in their direction, and it's like a pulled rubber band. You know what I mean? Everyone goes, So we're having a great time. And you're right. It'll be better once we get some bourbon in our systems.
I'm kind of curious. You have to tell us next week. What do you think of the event? ECC is always a huge event, so kind of curious to see how it goes and if it's as effective. Because I know you've been to a lot of other events this past.
Folks are asking about
year.
the weather. How's the weather, Nick?
That's okay. Go ahead, Jay.
As well.
Yeah. Beautiful. It's Southern California. It's chilly. It's in the high 60s, and it's been great. But yes, I will report back on ECC. In fact, this entire weekend, I'm going to be uploading a video every day just of that day's shenanigans and event, and show off the event, what's going on, and some vendors. So every day on YouTube, I'll have a daily vlog video up.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we managed to go 10 minutes into this just saying hi. So I think we might go over a little bit on Thursday nights.
That's because we weren't together last week.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We have to catch
I'm
up.
not half asleep.
Yeah, me either. I wake up at night, so we could do it at 12 midnight, and I'd be okay with that. Anyway, let's get on. Today we're going to talk about, we have a few different things we're going to go over. And the first one of those is Indiana. So everyone knows that Indiana got screwed last year and screwed pretty badly. I was sent this by Amy Lane, who does Not a Vaping Sheep podcast on Smoke Free Radio as well. Let's go over to the right monitor really quickly here. Indiana's Senate leader commits to fixing vaping law. And I'll just read a little bit of this for those who are... Actually, I'll read it all. It's not very long. For those who are listening on the podcast version and can't see it. And the link, of course, will be in the description. The Republican leader of the Indiana Senate said Tuesday that fixing the state's controversial vaping law is top priority in the next legislative session. Lawmakers earlier this year and in 2015 passed new rules that had the effect of dramatically reducing the number of players in Indiana's vaping and e-cigarette industry and creating a monopoly for a Lafayette security firm. Senate President Pro Tem David Long, Republican from Fort Wayne, said the Senate will, quote-unquote, aggressively try to fix that once the legislature convenes in January. We're going to make sure that there is not a monopoly in that area, Long said, and to the extent there is, we're going to eliminate that. It's important for us to get it right. Lawmakers said the security firm rules they passed were intended to protect manufactured products, e-liquids for use in electronic cigarettes, from tampering. In practice, the rules gave a single security company, Lafayette-based MacLeod, the ability to choose which firms could operate in Indiana, and the law change was championed by a Lafayette lawmaker, Senator Ron Alting. IBJ reported in August that the FBI was probing for possible corruption in the vaping law, and the law has also been the subject of multiple lawsuits. Long said the monopoly for MacLeod was inadvertent, quote-unquote. We're going to change that and hopefully open the door to a fair and open market, Long said. That's what we want to see. Long said Senator Randy Head of Logansport would carry the bill in 2017. Head voted against the 2015-16 iterations of vaping bills in the Senate in their final passage. So it looks like at least there are plans, and I know we've said it a lot of times on this show, and other people have said the same thing. It's a lot harder to change a law once it's passed than it is to prevent it from being passed, but it looks like at least in Indiana they're heading in the right direction. I know probably a couple of you have just seen this for the first time, but what do you guys think? Jay, you go.
Well, I have a couple of questions. First of all, as we all know, Mike Pence is the vice president-elect right now, right? So he's no longer governor, or he will be no longer governor. So
Correct.
Who steps up into his spot?
I don't know how it works in Indiana, but I think in Florida the lieutenant governor would fill that role, and I'm assuming they have something to that effect in Indiana.
That's true in Mass too. So it would behoove someone in the vaping community to find out who this lieutenant is and where his or her stance is. The other question is, and I'm going to preface this once again by saying I am not a Donald Trump fan, but how much of this do you think has to do with the political reality that Donald Trump is now the president-elect?
You mean the tone that America set when it voted for anti-establishment politicians?
For anti-regulation, for the notes that are going to the FDA saying you should stymie this vaping crap?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that every politician in every role across the country is taking notice of what happened on November 8th and is really reflecting on what their role and what their tenure and what their legacy is going to be as an elected official. Nick, what do you think? Have you heard anything about this yet, or do you think the Trump election is causing them to kind of backpedal a little bit in the states, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I don't know much about this, but we all know that Indiana got really screwed, and we all knew that there had to be something shady going on, and it's just nice that I guess someone else besides the outraged vape community is realizing it and possibly doing something about it.
Yeah, I think the outraged vaping community in Indiana is the one who really brought it to these legislators' attention to hopefully make this change happen. So again, that just goes to prove as well. Don't ever give up. Don't quit. Keep going. You can make a difference.
Another interesting point to this whole situation too, and we won't talk about it much yet, but like that regulator watch show I was telling you about, Grover Norquist said that there was the Attorney General in Indiana. He was running for Congress this time around, and he was a proponent of that bill. And he said the vapors in Indiana really rallied against that guy. And normally the guy should have probably won. And they attributed part of him losing in that Congress, this House race to the vape vote. So it was kind of interesting to hear Grover Norquist say something like that.
Wouldn't it be funny if e-cigarettes literally became the next like firearms as far as like red herrings that
I mean, we have the numbers to get there. If you flex your muscles a few times, you could show that this happens. It's, I think politicians will easily be swayed. I mean, they basically, with something like that, a bill like that, they kind of just want to go for whatever they feel like the public opinion is, and if it's overwhelmingly, anti-regulation on that, I think that it'll definitely help.
Well, politicians care about votes and money. So
Yep.
If we can get the money to influence races, that'd be awesome. But the second best thing that we can do, or maybe the best thing that we can do, is get voters out, which is why we have if you look over here, I Vape, I Vote. So apparently politicians are starting to take notice of the vaping community and our ability to, shift an election if we really put our minds to it. And we can see that also in Wisconsin. That happened with U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, who we're going to talk about in just a minute. He openly thanked the vaping community for their assistance in getting him reelected in Wisconsin.
I was so blown away by that. I did not
it's
expect
amazing.
that. I did not, and that was I think that like the day after we did the show where I said I wouldn't expect him to do anything like that, and literally the next day he did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's that feel, Jay?
Yeah.
So whatever Jay
Thanks,
expects,
Jay.
go the opposite. No, I'm just kidding.
Oops.
Now, it's definitely a catch-22, though, because you need the money to help organize to get the votes, and it's kind of like the voting is, I think, the number one thing. I mean, these guys, regardless if they have, millions of dollars, if they have a bunch of people voting against them, they don't want that. But in order for us to be a better organized community, you need lots and lots of money.
Well, and another, just to clarify that and put a finer point on it, look how much money Hillary Clinton spent on the presidential race, and she lost. So
Yeah.
She
votes
didn't
are the
spend
most
it.
important
Big-
thing to the
big
politicians.
pharma and insurance and the lawyers guild paid for that election.
Yeah, and votes is ultimately what it came down to. I mean, I know the popular vote versus the electoral college, but that's the way it was designed, and that's just the way it is in our system. And Donald Trump won. So, and I don't think he spent nearly as much money as Hillary Clinton's campaign did.
Not even close. Not
So
even
yeah,
close.
the votes are the most powerful right we have as American citizens. So if we can band together and use them as a vaping community, even if you're a single issue voter, absolutely it makes a difference. So yeah, good news for Indiana. I'm glad to see that at least it's going to be revisited, and hopefully they can get some change and relief there in Indiana. And I saw someone in the chat said, way to go, Indiana. Pay attention, Pennsylvania. Absolutely pay attention, Pennsylvania. And I know Chris,
We're seeing a lot. I'm sorry, I need to interrupt.
Yep,
We
go ahead.
are seeing a lot of goings on in the chat about lag.
I
lag.
think that's just the time of day.
Yeah,
Well,
could
I
be.
did bump up the bit rate to stream it because it was only coming through in 720, so I bumped it up, and the test I got back that it was okay.
Yeah,
to
you might want to
broadcast.
keep it at 720. Besides, most of our cameras, and because we're relying on Skype to feed our content, 1080 is unnecessary.
It's a little overkill for because
Can I change
we
it
all-
while we're
all of us
live?
things.
I wouldn't. No.
No, okay.
won't.
How laggy is it? Is it really bad, guys? I'm watching.
I'm not getting any lag.
I'm watching. I mean, I have it up on the other monitor here and muted, and it looks perfectly fine. I don't know. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll change it back for next week's too.
Everybody just stop moving. Everybody just sit really still.
How's our audio sound, everyone in the chat? Can you tell us? I think we all sound pretty good, but I'm listening to it from this end, not live on YouTube. So
Do I sound sexy?
listen, let's just accept it. None of us are Alex Clark, okay? We're not.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Ain't that the truth?
Oh yeah, let me remind you guys just real quick while you're in chat and watching, if you haven't smashed that like button, please do so now. And if you're watching on the replay, please like it. And also remember that your comments from chat in the live part do not carry over to the comments. So if you have anything that you want in the comments, make sure you copy and paste it over after the video is rendered. please like and share the link and get the word out. Hashtag VCCLive. All right, so we covered Indiana, and the next thing I wanted to talk about, which we kind of hinted on for just a second, was Senator Ron Johnson. Any final thoughts on Indiana before we leave that? You guys think we kind of covered it well enough for now? At least we'll keep updating, but
Go Indiana.
yeah.
I think it's positive. I mean, I'm feeling fairly optimistic that next year we could at least have a few wins that will at least maybe change the mindset for some people.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, let's hop over to the right monitor real quick. We talked about Senator Ron Johnson, Republican from Wisconsin, being reelected. That's a little too small. Let me go back. So everyone knows, or maybe everyone doesn't know, that he sent a letter to the FDA several months ago. I don't know when it was, May probably or something, and asking them to repeal the FDA deeming regulations and et cetera, et cetera. And he was asking questions about how they arrived and did they comply with all aspects of the law. So anyway, after his re-election win, there's this post in, it's on the, I don't know, what is this website? hcgac.senate.gov. So obviously it's a U.S. Senate website. It says Johnson asked Obama administration to cease implementing regulations that will likely be repealed. And I'm not going to read this whole thing because it's kind of long, but I'll post links to that article and also to the actual letter itself here. The article just is talking about how he's asking the FDA to put a stop to the FDA deeming regulations, overburdensome, overreaching regulations. And he says the American people spoke loudly on November 8th, and it's likely that Trump administration is going to repeal these regulations anyway. So why not just pause them for now and give these small businesses some relief and some sense of security so that business can continue on in this emerging market. And that's my summary of it. But I'll read you the actual letter itself real quickly here. I don't know why I gave you a summary and then I'm going to read it. That was what the article said. And this
Yeah,
is what
don't
the
do
letter
that.
Don't read it, or just don't read it at all.
Well, then read it and then
Don't.
summarize it again afterwards. Just
Okay, well, you guys can talk about what you think about it. That's my summary of it. But anyway, he sent it to the head of Commissioner of the Food and Drug Administration, Dr. Califf. On November 8th, the American people voiced their disapproval of the type of government that ignores the input of small business owners, consumers, and job creators. The incoming administration and the 115th Congress will likely re-examine and unwind burdensome regulations imposed by the Obama administration. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration's deeming regulation of e-cigarettes is a primary example of a rule that could eliminate an entire nascent industry. Accordingly, given the substantial likelihood that this burdensome rule will be undone, I urge the FDA to cease implementation of its deeming regulation to spare the growing e-cigarette industry unnecessary and avoidable compliance costs that it currently faces. And then he goes on to continue to talk about the same thing. So I'll just let you guys, again, I'll post a link to these. What do you guys think about Senator Johnson's letter, and also compare and contrast to what he sent earlier and what the response from the FDA was to that?
I think it was. I mean, I doubt Obama is going to repeal it. I mean, let's just be honest, because I mean, his office saw it before they went through, had to pass through the OMB or whatever it was called. But just the fact that Ron Johnson's basically, I mean, I think not like he's in our pocket, but the fact that he kind of, in some ways, I think he kind of feels like he owes us, and he's on board to keep fighting for us for another, whatever. What is
6 years.
Senate? 6 years?
Yeah.
6 years. And the fact that he thinks they'll likely be repealed is definitely promising. I mean, could you imagine if we just got an announcement this year and next year, most likely next year if it was going to happen, that all of a sudden the FDA rules were repealed and they were going to start over?
Yes,
God damn, I would take all my clothes off and I would run around the neighborhood.
I think that's the right thing. I think that's the right thing to do. Not you taking your clothes off and running your neighborhood.
And the FDA can't stop me.
But I think the letter's awesome and it's important and it shows that, you know, he's going to keep fighting for us. But I highly doubt it that Obama's going to repeal it.
Yeah, but Califf could theoretically put a hold on it.
Yeah,
and I think the purpose of this letter.
No, I think the absolute opposite. I don't think I wholeheartedly agree with Matt. I think, you know, incredibly well-intentioned and absolutely spot on, it's ultimately a PR stunt. I don't know what the precedence is for a regulatory agency to positively respond to a request like that, but I can't imagine that the rates are very high.
Well, it's not the agency he's asking, though. He's asking Obama to put a pause on.
Even
Okay,
worse. So there's another
Yeah.
layer of bureaucracy that you'd have to go through. It doesn't make any sense that the agency would respond in kind to that request. It makes zero sense to me because they did this for political reasons. There's no political reasons for them to not do it or to
But I
not
mean-
continue to do it. If anything, like you said, what it does do is it encourages us in that next year, likely, the regulations could be repealed.
Yeah, I mean, I think it shows us that Ron Johnson is going to keep hammering at this. And most likely, once Trump gets into office, Ron Johnson is going to be in his ear about it. Like, I made a video a week ago where people were, and it was like, will Trump save vaping? Kind of clickbaity, I know, but who cares? I'm a view whore, right? But
And a ballet whore, apparently.
But I mean, the point is that, yeah, it might not be on Trump's top list of things to do, but if he's got guys like Johnson, Duncan Hunter, who was even being considered for like his Secretary of Defense at one point, who is a vapor, he's got those guys in his ear. He could very well, if it's simple enough, just okay, let's pause it and let's wipe the slate clean and start over.
Well, just to go back to your point about Senator Johnson maybe feeling as if he owes us something, I point out that the first letter that he sent was way before the election and probably way before he realized he'd have as much support from the vaping community. I think, or maybe the local company that's in his state. What is it? The big one of the first huge e-liquid companies in the country. Johnson Creek, maybe.
Johnson Creek, yeah.
Maybe they had some influence over that philosophy of Senator Ron Johnson. But either way, it's a good thing for us, and it's as we've discussed in previous shows, he's a lot closer to getting these policy decisions in the ears of President Trump and other people, future President Trump, President-elect Trump, whatever, than we are. So it's great to have him and people like Duncan Hunter on our side. Nick, what do you think?
It's just overall, I think it's a really good thing. It's just very disorienting, I guess, to have a politician who claims to be on your side and then gets reelected somehow when he wasn't supposed to because of the vapors. And then he thanks the vapors and then almost immediately delivers on his promise to have our backs.
It's amazing.
Like, that's so
Yeah.
fucking weird that I don't even know how to process that information. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
he
the
was-
other strong groups, it shows that we're getting a little stronger too, though, because other strong groups have had the same effect. Like obviously we're not as strong as the NRA, but gun
Right.
rights, those guys make those promises and they freaking know they're going to follow through because the NRA will have their ass if they don't.
So it feels really good to throw your support behind someone and then actually have this politician deliver on their promises of defending the vape community. It can only be a good thing. I mean, that's going to set an example. It's going to set a precedent to other politicians. They're going to look at Senator Ron Johnson and be like, wow, vapors basically reelected him into office. How do I get in on that? What can I do? I think it's great. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And here's another interesting thing. This might take me a few minutes to get through, but I was reading a bottle of melatonin earlier tonight because my wife gives the boys melatonin sometimes when they're being a little too rambunctious before bed. And on the bottle it says right in the front it says sleep aid, and then there's a little asterisk, right? And then on the side of the bottle it has the little asterisk, and it says, this statement has not been evaluated by the FDA, blah, 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 blah. Why can't we do something similar with e-cigarettes? And with herbal supplements, which is what melatonin is, That's exactly the fight that they had. What?
Oh, yeah, it's big.
20 years ago. 20 years ago.
90s. Yeah,
Yeah.
90s.
Once they got through that fight, we never had to deal with it again. They never had to deal with it again as an industry because it never got on anybody's radar that this stuff is unregulated by the FDA. And if we can get over this hump over the next year or two, or through the next administration, it's very well possible that we may never have to fight this fight again.
Well, I think once you get to a certain size and they learn their lesson and they know not to F with you. And they know, and I think that the government originally expected vapors to be like smokers. Okay, yeah, we know it's, we'll pay the sin tax. We know it's horrible for us. Whatever, we're just addicts. We just want to keep getting our cigarettes. You can go ahead and walk all over us and do whatever the hell you want. I don't think they expected vapors to be so vocal and politically active and stuff. Not that all of them are, but I mean, we definitely.
Yeah.
Well,
and
we're allowed 5 or 10%.
Yeah, and the supplement industry did the same thing in the 90s. I mean, they were just going to do away with that whole thing. It was because my mom is really into like vitamins and stuff like that, and it was a big deal back then.
It was.
And they weren't going to have it. They weren't going to deal with it, and they organized well and told the FDA to fuck off, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I want to just put this out there. I don't want to get anyone's hopes up, but I do think, and I saw someone say that they've been feeling more positive about the vaping industry lately. We're definitely not saying on this show that the Trump administration is going to come in and save the day, but we're definitely saying that it's a possibility that would never have existed had the election gone the other way. So I'm feeling a lot more positive about the vaping industry the last month and of the possibilities of 2017 for sure. So yeah, I mean, I think it's very cool to see a politician carry through so swiftly and certainly on their promise to stand behind you as a community. It's definitely something that's good for vaping. And best case scenario is like what Matt talked about. Trump gets in and he says all the Obama era regulations gone. We're revisiting them all, and that would be great for the vaping.
Right.
Well, and it's like I said, it's promising that we have people in Congress that have vocally had our backs, and they're going to be going to Trump to push him on this, and are in the same party as him, obviously.
Right. So yeah, any other thoughts on Johnson before we move on? I think it's cool. I think I think I'm feeling much more positive about our chances with the turn of events over the last month. So, all right. So the next thing that we had on the list to talk about, and I don't know if you guys have seen this yet this week. I've seen it over the last couple of days. Philip Morris, and let's jump over here really quickly here. This is on a FoxNews.com article. It says Philip Morris CEO looks towards phasing out cigarettes, BBC reports. It's very short, so I'll read it really quickly here. London, Philip Morris International, the world's leading international tobacco company, could eventually stop selling cigarettes, its chief executive told the BBC on Wednesday as it launched its alternative product, IQOS. I'm not sure if that's how you say it or not, in the UK market. The company's IQOS smokeless cigarette, which is already on sale in over a dozen markets, including Japan, Switzerland, and Italy, heats tobacco enough to produce a vapor without burning it. The company believes that makes it much less harmful than cigarettes. This is a quote. He says, "I believe there will come a moment in time where I would say we have sufficient adoption of these alternative products to start envisaging, together with the governments, a phase-out period for cigarettes," Andrei Kalatzopoulos said in an interview on BBC Radio 4. So, yeah, I mean, I know that's not the traditional vapor products that we know and are used to here, but apparently they have developed something that doesn't combust tobacco and still produces a vapor. So,
I'm sorry, but the libertarian in me really has a problem with the fact that they say they're looking forward to working with the government to phase out cigarettes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always been up to that, synergy for the government and big tobacco to phase out cigarettes. I have a huge problem with that, but other than that, it's certainly encouraging that these big players ultimately, if it doesn't end up crushing, the mom and pops in the world, ultimately it could end up being a good thing. But I have a huge problem with that statement.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the problem is that the mom and pop products, or even not the mom and pop, but just Chinese manufacturers, whatever, outside of big tobacco, have the superior products right now. Big tobacco already knows that, and they're going to basically want to control it, And we could. A lot of people, I think that they're definitely going to be buying out some people, depending on where this goes with regulation. But if, let's say that the regs as they are now are wiped away, and we're shaping our own, category or whatever, I can see big tobacco then going full bore, trying to corner the industry for sure.
But and you know what? Ultimately, if they corner the industry honestly and without the big guns of government, I'm fine with that. If they can build a better mousetrap, God bless them. But if they continue to try to do it through the guns of government and over regulation of the industry, then they can go fuck themselves.
Well, it would be nice if they stayed in their box of beginner simple vapor products and just kept trying to make those better, And if people want to get into the advanced hobbyist stuff, they can go to the smaller businesses. It would be nice if it stayed that way. It depends how many people are going to the bigger and better stuff,
Well, I mean, let's not forget that over the last probably 5 or 6 years, two of the largest vaping companies globally to end users anyway that sell to retail stores and directly to consumers were Blue and Enjoy. Both of those were starter products. I mean, those were Cigalikes. So I think that they definitely have a realm that they can fit into, like Jay said, with getting people off of combustible tobacco. I don't think that I would be okay with them dipping into open vapor. That's my personal opinion.
I mean, ultimately, the goal is tobacco harm reduction.
Correct.
And whether that's coming from small business or big business, as long as you're not threatening the livelihood of another sector of your industry, I don't have a problem with it. You just have to keep innovating, because there's always going to be, with a big company, they're slow moving, they're slow to innovate. It's very difficult with smaller companies, which is what we've been seeing over the last 6-7 years. You're very nimble. You can release new products quickly. As long as they don't use the boots of government to squash that, I don't have a problem with whatever they want to do. They might have the marketing prowess to expand vaping beyond what our current community can do, and that would be a good thing ultimately.
But I think most likely they're gonna want to squash the little guys, because they're gonna want to make it how the cigarette industry is now. It's impossible for a little player to make cigarettes because of the PMTA process, obviously.
Right, and that's obviously the sticking point that I have.
Yeah.
As long as they can steer clear of that, ultimately, if they want to try to release products in a fair market, in an open market, I have no problem with that.
Well, I don't either, because I think once people, I know for myself, when I started with Cigalikes, it didn't take me very long to realize that wasn't going to work for me. And that
Nick doesn't agree with me, so I want to hear what Nick has to say.
No, I agree with you.
He was
totally
agreeing.
agree with you.
Did you see his emphatic? That was his emphatic face.
He was saying, like he was agreeing with what you were saying. Them not.
I don't think,
baby.
I don't think big tobacco is ever going to get into the hobbyist side of it. I just don't see that coming. Nick from Daily Vape TV said in the comments, Philip Morris DNA 200. That will never be a thing.
They might not, but I think they'll try to get rid of it. If then they want everybody that's inhaling something, inhaling vapor, to buy it from them.
And that's the crux of it. That's the slow moving wing of the industry is the closed vapor market, and that's something that Philip Morris can do. The open industry that we currently have, they can't touch that because they're not nimble. They're a big behemoth, slow moving, slow to innovate type of company. They can't do it, even if they wanted to.
They're as bad to get things to market as the government is to get regulations. I mean, it takes them forever. They have to go through R&D, and then they got to test it, and then they got to have another sector of the company test it, then they got to have another company sector verify.
How often do they release a new cigarette? Even before the PACT Act.
And look at, I started vaping in 2013. and it was a CE4 clearomizer with a tiny 800 mAh Ego style battery. And within a couple of years, we had gotten to the DNA 200s, and you can plug it in and program your shit. And I mean, and that's all because, like Jay said, we were not being fucked with by the government. We had the ability. Small businesses had the ability to innovate, and that's exactly what regulations do. They kill innovation and they kill small business.
Yep.
And if we want
By
to
design.
make these,
By design.
if we want to make these
not a side
products
effect.
better, so that people actually can stay off of combustible tobacco, then we need them to stay in their role, stay in their cigar-like market, and for the government to leave us the fuck alone.
That's 2 fucks tonight. 3.
Oh,
I said leave us the truck alone.
Oh, you did?
How many drinks you had, Jay? Matt, you've been pretty quiet. I mean, Nick, you've been pretty quiet. What do you think? Think about Philip Morris. You think they're authentic, genuine?
I'm just taking it all in.
You think they care for us?
So, interesting story is at VaporCon East, and I might have said this already, but we had an Uber driver who worked at Philip Morris, who worked for Philip Morris. He was, like a production line manager or something. And evidently, according to him, Philip Morris is putting the majority of their efforts and the majority of their money into their vapor product department. They're hiring heavily for it, and they're putting all sorts of money into it, and they're basically banking on that possibly outselling their traditional tobacco cigarettes.
I would be curious to know where that money is going specifically, though. Is it going to marketing, or is it going to R&D? Is it going to production? Where is that?
I think right now it's going to R&D. I mean,
that's a good question.
I would anticipate that it's the exact opposite, because that's their MO is to never innovate, never engineer. It's always marketing.
I wonder if they're putting any money into the TFN, tobacco-free nicotine research. One thing I was going to say, I was saying this, but I forgot I was muted, is that the vapors have basically been beta testers, and like you said, these businesses are all small and nimble. They'll put out a product and it's obviously not ready. They obviously, China doesn't even know what beta testing is really. And then they'll get feedback, and then they'll just come out with a V2 the next month, and then after, and then after, and then after. And you're right. I mean, we won't see big tobacco doing things like that. No. But I don't see a world where they're not going to try to shut that down if there's enough people using those types of products. I would love to know, out of all vapors, how many people use rebuildables, how many people use sub-ohm tanks and high wattage mods, things like that.
Well, and that's another aspect, and that's more of a community discussion than like an advocacy discussion. But I mean, we've all kind of noticed that the days of the chucker seem to be somewhat limited at this point. The days of vaping being cool, inevitably that's going to fall by the wayside. So how much of that is going to play into it? There's been an influx of more closed systems than ever before, and they're being accepted, pretty strongly by the community. So how is that going to reflect on how we're able to fight this stuff? How excited is somebody going to be about, a Juul and fighting the government over a Juul as opposed to, being able to chuck these huge clouds?
Well, I think we're going to see a renaissance in the vaping industry, and I know it's had its whole peaks and valleys, but I think we'll get back to why we're doing what we're doing to begin with, and that is to eliminate combustible tobacco and to stay off of combustible tobacco. So, I mean, hopefully people get that in their mind. And again, I've always been of the mindset, I don't give a shit if you're blowing clouds. I don't give a shit if you're mouth and lunging. As long as you're not smoking, I don't care. Right. I just want to bring this up real quick. Amy Groom in the comments said, regulations don't kill innovation. Bad regulations kill innovation. Amy, that's a good point. But show me a regulation the government's ever put out that's been a good one.
Well, there's definitely. Come on, Kevin. There's definitely some regulations that are good ones. Come on.
Yeah,
give me one.
I mean, but
give us one.
Well, you're not eating fucking dirty socks in your
Seatbelts,
chicken
maybe.
chicken soup or whatever. I mean, come on.
Nobody
there's
has-
some-
nobody has
you guys-
ever
okay,
tried to
that
sell
is
me a
where
dirty sock.
the whole libertarian
I
mindset,
understand.
You guys are fucking cuckoo with your anarchist.
I understand what you mean.
You need some
right.
things that are sensible and reasonable, but
All right,
you're absolutely
yes.
right. Most of the time, they take it way over and cross
Correct,
the
and
line.
that was my point. I mean, there are some good regulations, but what did it take to get there? It wasn't like the government's ever come out with a regulation and off the bat it's been like, holy God, that's the best thing I've ever heard. No, it takes fighting and it takes getting the government to a good middle ground.
I mean,
So yeah, we do
be
need
too
some good
that-
regulations on vaping pot, but limited and sensible.
It could be too that you're only hearing or focusing on bad regulations, if that makes any sense. I used to work at Starbucks. We worked in the Starbucks roasting plant, and there was loads of regulations that we had in place that were incredibly beneficial, like how we went through the trace recall process if there was a bolt that got somehow into a bag of coffee through the metal detector. There's a lot of good stuff in place.
But let me ask you, how would a small business go through that process?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
Right. How
I
many
don't know.
how many small coffee suppliers and coffee manufacturers do you know of?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I know in San Diego there's a bunch. We have a bunch of like local coffee roasters, and I don't know why I look like this now.
Oh,
Yeah.
Nick just
Well,
went
I think-
psychedelic on us.
I just went full
Uh,
potato. What is happening?
there's-
What's in your vape out there
Safety.
in California, dude?
Yeah.
There's safety regulations, like OSHA
Yeah.
with construction. There's regulations on our water, which aren't all good. Don't get
Well,
me wrong.
but regulations on water are typically the onus is on the local government or the regional government. The onus is not on a private company. That's the difference. But in general, I agree with you, Matt. Like there are instances of good regulations, but those regulations, most of them have kind of been in place for 100+ years. I mean, like name a regulation that's come up since like the early 1900s that actually benefits us.
Seatbelts.
I said that seatbelt. I
I'll
mean,
name- I'll name
No,
one.
not seatbelts. Not seatbelts.
Well,
seatbelts,
I think we're on.
Airbags.
It's
I think that
yes,
speed
it's a
is
good idea to wear a
definitely
seatbelt, but is it a good idea to force people to wear them if they don't want to?
Sure.
I mean,
I think
Sure.
so.
that's where the funny thing is, and I've been thinking about this lately, but I heard an interesting topic, or somebody said this who is a moderate, is that like moderates are hated more than anyone because the fucking liberals think that they're conservatives, and the conservatives think that they're liberals.
That's libertarian. Yeah,
and
libertarians
yeah.
are hated by both.
yeah, that too. But libertarians, I would say, are even farther right on a lot of things than conservatives on some things. When it, like, for instance, our conversations about. But I mean, I think that a lot of things. I understand both sides. Gun control, I understand both sides. Even though I like guns and I own them, I understand why some people are scared of them. And so some regulations I think we don't have that we do need, and there's obviously some that are way overboard and a lot that are just done because of money and greed, and for certain companies to be able to have control of an industry.
And that's the problem. That's the crux of the problem, is that government regulation is never done for non-political purposes. In this day and age, it's never done for non-political purposes.
I was just going to say the best regulations have come from a collaboration between government and industry, like a true collaboration from government and industry.
But also the worst regulations, hence the vaping.
Hence Indiana, right?
Shit.
And,
And
so,
just the general FDA regulations, which were obviously designed by Big Tobacco.
right. So I mean, I guess
DP
it
reg
depends.
Were written by Big Tobacco.
Regulations, no. I mean, no, they're not all bad, and yes, there are some ones that do benefit society as a whole. But I think when you come out with something that's so blatantly overreaching as the FDA deeming regulations are, and are squashing thousands and tens of thousands of small businesses and eliminating jobs, which is counterproductive to the whole society, not to mention the public health benefits that vapors get compared to continuing to smoke, that's a bad thing, and it's a bad regulation. And I think that, if just to kind of bring this full circle, if, like you said earlier, if Philip Morris is going to push the alternative to combustible tobacco, then I would not oppose that. I just hope that they stay in their realm and not do what you suggested that they're probably going to do, or what they want to do, which is, kill open vapor and kill small business and try to take it all over. I mean, I hope it doesn't come to that. The first order we have to get through, though, is getting these regulations repealed, or at least sidebarred for now until they can be done better. And hopefully, and again, just to go even fuller circle, I think Ron Johnson's intent was to get this in their mind before December 31st, because December 31st, I think a lot of businesses either are confused or are not going to register at all with the FDA, which technically makes anything they're selling illegal. And I think, his goal is to try to, one last Hail Mary down the field and say, can we, try to do something to save these businesses before December 31st? And what do you guys think? Yeah, no, I'm fucking crazy. What?
Well, as somebody who's going through the registration process, while the process itself doesn't seem that burdensome, and that's supposed to be done by the end of this month, it does worry me that all of a sudden, I'm basically opening up my lab to FDA inspection on January 1st. That does bother me, especially because they're not really providing any specific guidance as to what a lab needs to do to manufacture product. So I literally have no idea, if they were to walk in the door, whether or not I'm going to be able to stay in business for a day after that.
Don't worry, they literally have no idea what they're looking for. So you could just start spouting off vaping terms, and they're probably like, like, this is the...
I'm sure it's going to be a lot like the regulations that have been, put in place to this point. It's clearly, to this point, it's been a fact-finding mission. Like, they have not fined anyone, they have not closed anyone down, they haven't pulled any products from shelves, as far as I know, since August 8th. And,
well, that's sorry, go ahead.
No.
Sorry. I have a hard time in these groups because you guys take these long pauses and I think you're done. Or I like talking, so I wait for you to breathe and then I'm just.
But see, I don't get to talk during the day now. I have my day job. I don't get to talk, so now it's just like, especially and then add bourbon, and
that's called talk juice. What were you gonna say, Matt?
Well, first off, just to answer this, Jammin' Shaman guy said in the comments, Big Tobacco owns the FDA. That's not really true. Big Pharma, you could say, owns the FDA way more than Big Tobacco, but that's a whole nother show. But as far as oh fuck, I had something good to say. What were we talking about again?
That's fuck number 4. Oops, fuck number 5. Oop. Number 6.
You were talking about pausing between speaking and then people talking over you. No, I'm just kidding. That didn't help.
I'm having a freaking brain fart now, and I had something that I felt was good to say.
Jay was talking about the FDA coming into his lab. They don't know what they're looking for. He doesn't know what they're looking for. There you go. You're welcome. You're welcome.
I got it. I appreciate it. Light bulb. The worst thing that's happened so far to vaping companies in the United States has been their mindset.
Exactly.
Right? And that's what's even been hurting, like, the sales and consumers or YouTube views. Even you see people that are just like, okay, we're fucked. I'm giving up. I'm done with vaping. As I'll still vape, but I'm just done with the community. I'm done with it.
Can I interject conventions as well?
Yeah, conventions too. A lot of it is just mindset. That's been the worst thing for us so far. It hasn't been any regulations. There's still new products that look like they're coming out because every Chinese company soft launched like 30 to 50 products right on August 8th, and they're going to slowly pump them out over the next year or two. And so there's nothing that's really happening with these regs yet, except for what's in our heads that we're just kind of the defeated attitude.
I couldn't
Stop
agree
saying
more.
so much in one thought. Jesus,
I couldn't agree more,
so many
Matt.
things to say about what you just said.
Absolutely brilliantly worded. It's absolutely true.
Jay's killing me. This needs to be Jay's show. Just Jay.
It is. Can't you see?
Bourbon
No.
and Jay.
I was actually going to say earlier, I think
The Bourbon and Jay show.
Once we got into the libertarian debate, I was thinking I need to have all three of you on my show.
Yeah.
So that we can hash that shit out.
If we're having
I thought
bourbon,
you'd never
yeah,
asked.
absolutely.
I've been waiting for the invite.
Jay
Now I
DeLuco,
forget
brought
what I
to you
was gonna
by
say.
Maker's Mark.
I completely forget what I was going to say now, though. But it was all very important.
I don't think yours is a brain fart. I think yours is the bourbon.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right, so we have about 5 minutes left, and there was another thing really quickly that I wanted to show you guys that Matt mentioned just before we went live. So we don't have a lot to talk about on it, but I want to show you guys this. If you don't follow this gentleman on Facebook, give him a follow. Brent Stafford, and he's from Vancouver, British Columbia, and he does, what is this called again? Matt, you mentioned it earlier. I forgot completely.
He has a YouTube channel called like Regulator Watch, I believe.
Regulator
and
Watch.
He does. It's kind of like this news setup, kind of interesting, kind of cheesy, but it works for him, for his personality.
Mm-hmm.
But he'll like interview people in the industry, but also I think he's interviewed politicians. He's interviewed Stanton Glantz, who is anti-vaping, obviously. He interviewed the dude why do I keep forgetting his name, from American Tax Reform?
Grover Norquist.
Grover Norquist.
Yeah, Grover Norquist on his most recent videos, and they're definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, so that's the one I have pulled up now. If
it's
you want
interesting to get Grover Norquist's take on it, and he seemed pretty positive about it too, and kind of said the same sort of things that Ron Johnson's been saying as far as repealing and things of that nature.
Yeah, so if you go to Facebook and search for Regulator Watch, apparently they have their own page. I guess you don't need to necessarily add Brent, but you can go to Regulator Watch, and the video is about 7 minutes long. I haven't watched it yet. It's it's got a little write-up here on it, so go check that out for sure. Give him a follow. He does a lot of good interviews focused around vaping and the vaping industry with
He's pretty
people.
phenomenal.
Yeah, he does a really good job.
He just did a video.
He
just did a video about the city of Pasadena and the vapors being stupid sheep campaign, which we're gonna go to Pasadena tomorrow night and fuck shit up. Sorry, that's 7.
With your Nerf guns. With your Nerf guns?
Yeah, with our Nerf guns.
I wouldn't roll anywhere in California with a gun, fake or real. You get your ass
apparently
shot.
There's like an actual sort of official, non-official meeting happening between people in the city of Pasadena and Not Blowing Smoke. Stefan and Not Blowing Smoke are going to be there, and we were invited as well to talk to people. We got a bunch of starter kits we're gonna hand out as well to the public. Should be a thing. Hopefully we can get noticed.
Too bad you guys didn't have enough time. You could have rented a bunch of sheep outfits.
Oh, that's such a good idea.
Just go buy cotton
do a
balls
sheep
and glue them
cloud
to your
con.
body.
Just sheep mask cloud.
Whenever
con.
someone asks you a question, just say, "Ma."
Yeah.
That's the worst campaign. I mean, that I can't believe. I just
Horrible.
Every time I think California can't shock me anymore, they do. It's just incredible.
Vapors are sheep, but listen to the government. It's like
exactly.
Yeah. All right. Is anyone keeping an eye on chat? So we have a few minutes left. We'll go over any questions you guys might have or anything that you put lately.
Well, Nick Bissett was asking about Vaporfy and the Billion Lives thing. I just caught wind of that tonight, literally, so I haven't had time to.
I'm a huge proponent of not sharing stuff that I think the company is doing something just to get press, either bad or good. So fuck them. I'm not going to mention it. I mean, I wish we could go back and delete that you mentioned. You should have said the company. Yeah, but it's Thursday night, dude. Thursday nights get a little bit crazy on VCCLive. We can say fuck if we want to, but yeah, I don't even think that they should get any recognition at all for the stupid shit that they did trying to represent that they were sponsoring a billion lives. I mean, it's just ridiculous, and I don't think it deserves our time talking about it or giving them any credit. So,
well put.
So sorry, not Nick Bissett, to disappoint you, but we're going to pretend as if that didn't happen and forget them, like everyone else should do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now I'm interested. I'm gonna have to look into this.
Yeah, look it up. You'll find some stuff. It's
Yeah, Demi put up some stuff.
Demi put up a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I wasn't following it though because I was working.
And now you have some time. All right. Well, any closing thoughts, guys? I don't see any comments or anything. Just want to say that I appreciate when I can catch this live show. Thank you very much, Vapors Ale. We appreciate you tuning in. For all of you who haven't yet, please make sure you smash that like button before we get out of here, and make sure you share the link. Smash it.
I smashed the crap out of it.
Smash it
virtually.
Smash or crash.
Just gotta smash the
smash
shit
or pass.
out of.
Next week, I'll drink. No, I have to drive back to my office to do the show, so I'm not drinking and driving back home.
Then the political discussions would really get interesting.
Yeah. I'm like, no. Yeah, maybe one day I'll do it from home and we can relax a little bit more. But
I do want to say we currently have 1,792 subscribers as of the beginning of this show. I think we should do a giveaway.
we do a giveaway every single week. We give away nuggets of knowledge.
I think we should do a giveaway of like T-shirts or signed pictures of each of us, like for the 2,000th member.
That's the bourbon talking.
Yeah, that's the bourbon talking. All right, we're gonna go.
Everybody should, for the 2,000th subscriber, everybody should send me a bottle of bourbon.
We're gonna go before Jay loses his shirt. All right, guys. Closing thoughts. Jay, we're gonna skip you tonight. No closing thoughts from Jay. Nick, no, I'm just kidding. Jay, anything that you got coming up, or anything you want to mention?
No, nothing for me coming up. I'm not even sure if I'm doing a show tomorrow night. So, no, chin up. The political environment right now is in flux, but I do think that it edges in our favor substantially. So, definitely keep up the fight. Keep doing what you're doing on social media, writing to your whatevers, and we'll be back.
And
next
just
week.
be glad that most of you don't live in California, like poor Nick.
It's my first thought every morning when I wake up.
Poor Nick in California.
On that thought,
I'm in Montana. We have freedom. I make my liquid where I piss.
You're not just vaping sheep. You have actual sheep in Montana.
That's true. That's true.
Nick, closing thoughts. What are you looking forward to?
No, I mean, yeah, absolutely. Everybody keep doing what you're doing. Like Jay said, the political landscape is wacky right now. We have so many things happening and changing. We also have litigation that's still going on. So I'm really super optimistic about the future, and it's not over until we win, and then that's when we stop, and then even then we don't stop. And that's what I got.
Maybe on that day we do a full on drinking VCCLive.
Yeah, and we finally win.
Yep. Matt, any closing thoughts?
Oh yeah, if the regs get overturned, we all need to do a show. No clothes, drinking, party. I won't wear a hat.
There's no rules.
I'm thinking right around the time of VCCT in Tampa is when a lot of things are going to happen towards the end of March. So I'm thinking that might be a very well planned time for VCC in Tampa. I got a good feeling about it. I really do.
I would put in for time off for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to have some very good changes by the end of March. I'm hopeful. I'm wishful thinking, but I'm trying to keep a positive attitude about what's happening, and I think everyone out there needs to change their mentality from the negative, get it back into the positive, keep pushing and getting us to what got us here to where we are today on the brink of 2017. So, with that said, we'll be back next Thursday at 8 p.m. It feels weird to say that, but next Thursday at 8 p.m. we'll be back with another VCC Live. Again, make sure you smash that like button. Please share the link. And let's let Nick, Jay, you want to do the closing line tonight? Remember you...
you don't have to do everything, but you have to do something.
No, we got to do it right. That sounded a little bit too Johnny Carson.
Get involved.
Remember, you don't have to do everything, but you do have to do something. Get involved. And it won't play my outro. Screw you. Now I got to do it again.
Sober.
Just close it. I'll edit it and post. Your dance. It's just coming.